Designing a luxury brand identity can feel quite overwhelming when you first open this Illustrator file just to be faced with a completely blank canvas. Now, without a structured process, this can lead to hours wasted, constant frustration, and even just completely restarting your designs over and over again. Trust me, this actually used to happen a lot when I never used to do brand strategy and never even really had a proper process. So with a luxury service-based brand, we need to approach this slightly different than normal. If you've watched my previous videos, this is probably going to be a little bit different than normal. Probably. So in this video, we're going to get a clear understanding of my entire brand identity process from start to finish. And by the end of it, I hope that you'll be able to craft a brand identity that not only truly represents the business values, but also evokes the right emotions from potential customers. Introducing EPILAZE. Now, around 2 months ago now, I received this inquiry from the client. Now, who are EPILAZE? Well, EPILAZE are a laser clinic that focus on hair removal for areas like armpits and beyond. So their mission is to redefine customer experience, offering quite a pampering alternative to the normal clinical setting that you might be used to. Now, when speaking to the client, it was clear that their goal is to be the top choice for those who value precision and comfort whilst having a seamless experience throughout. Keep that in mind for later because we might be able to integrate that into the logo some way or another. Now, before we start building the brand identity, I think it's only fair I show you a sneak peek of my process. Now, after years of trial and error, I've managed to narrow it down to these pretty simple 4 stages, which you might have seen before in a previous video. However, now I've completely built it inside of Notion. So what actually are the 4 stages then? Well, stage 1 is onboarding. So this phase handles all of the admin tasks. Clients can view invoices, payment dates, and they can even actually pay through the Notion portal. Not to mention they'll find the signed contracts there, and they'll also be able to book an introduction call with myself. Now, upon a good discovery call, hopefully the client expresses interest, which then I can go and make a personalized brand proposal. Now, the beauty of having it built all inside of Notion is that the client can actually leave the feedback in the tab with the document. Now, this means that communication is just completely streamlined. No more back and forth on emails, and no more clients wondering where on earth the project's at. Anyway, let's jump into stage 2, brand strategy. Now, if you've watched my previous video, you might have seen the questionnaire that I often give to my clients at the start of a project. Well, this is now also built inside of the Notion template. So the client fills this out, and then now I have a good understanding of where they want to take the business, allowing me to come up with a good brand strategy. But just before I do that, I like to book a call with the client that's usually lasts about an hour long. We like to discuss things like the brand vision, brand mission, brand values, and personality. Now, after this discussion, I have all the information needed to proceed on to stage 3, the pre-design and direction. So this involves taking everything from the client questionnaire and also everything that we've discussed on the brand strategy call and just taking it into one big formal document. Now, once the client signs this off, we can move on to the mood boarding stage, which if you've watched my previous video, you probably know that I like to do this at the start of every brand identity. This allows me to create 2 different directions to present to the client, and they can choose which one they prefer. Again, making sure that there's just no surprises when it comes to the final design. Now, once the client signed off the mood board, I give them one more chance to jump on a call with me. This just makes sure that I can answer any questions that the client may have, just making sure we're completely aligned before we start the design. Now, you might be thinking, this seems a ridiculously long process. Why don't you just get on with the logo design from the start? Well, this often would end to having loads of revision requests at the ends and just amendments from the clients along the way. Now, by having this really detailed process, I found that this has massively slashed them revision requests, which might be evident in this video. And now we can finally jump on to stage 4, which is probably the reason you clicked on this video, building the brand identity. Okay, well, this is my setup when sketching. Can't really get all of it in view here. We've got logo beginnings, and then we've also got logo modernism. Now, you might have seen these books absolutely everywhere. The great thing about these books is that they've got logo inspiration, which goes all the way back to the 1700s, as you can see here. I like to create timeless logos, so if something looks good in here today, then it's a testament to its good design. Now, I'm not saying go ahead and just copy out of these books. I'm not saying that at all, but it definitely helps for inspiration when trying to create logos. Now, sketching sessions are very unpredictable. They can last either minutes, hours, or they can even sometimes potentially last days. But regardless of how long the sketching phase takes, you definitely know once you've found the winner. Now, here are the sketches that I did throughout the EPILAZE sketching session, and to be honest, this actually took less than normal. However, when I stumbled across this sketch, I just knew it was a winner. Here are the sketches. Now, some of the sketches look absolutely terrible, but it's just good to get all of your ideas out on paper because you never know when you might stumble across the winner, and sometimes a logo that you might first sketch can turn into something quite spectacular. Now, the inspiration behind this logo design is the 2 E's in EPILAZE interlocked to form a diamond, which symbolizes trust and precision. And you'll also notice, similar to the mood board direction, that it's executed in a luxurious monoline manner. No surprises for the client. But the sketching was arguably the easiest part. We're going to take it into Adobe Illustrator and try and perfect it by using rules like the golden ratio. Now, if you sat there thinking, what on earth is he on about golden ratio? Now, you might remember in school the Greek letter pi, approximately 1.618. Now, for some reason, this number is commonly found in nature, art, and architecture. It's been used over years and years, and it's considered aesthetically pleasing to the eye. Now, you might be thinking, well, if it's a number, then how on earth are you going to use it in your logo design? Well, here's how I did it. I started off with a small circle around 13 pixels, and I continuously multiplied it until I had a range of circles going from really small to really big. Now, I then used these circles to shape the logo, and I also used the smaller circles to create space in between elements. I'll show you more on this later. Now, by using this in our design, we aim to create a visually appealing logo that's also subtly rooted in mathematical beauty. Okay, so let's turn back the clocks to March, where Jack was creating this brand identity. I actually recorded this live, but I was just speaking ridiculously quiet when created the logo because it was late at night. But I've still got little bits when I was choosing the typography, so you'll be able to see into my brain then. You'll be able to see what I was thinking. Okay, so as you can see here, my setup for this is a range of golden ratio circles on the left, complemented by a reduced opacity version of my sketch in the middle. Now, a quick tip when using these circles to create a logo is to use outline mode, which is Command and Y. Now, as you can see, without being in outline mode, sometimes it can seem fine, however, it isn't perfect. And we like perfect. So as I mentioned before, I'm using these smaller circles for spacing, as you can see here at the top. And then I'm duplicating these bigger circles just to create the outline of the shape. Now, the first time round, it didn't look quite right. This is where you can get something important from this video. Now, when using rules like the golden ratio, you don't want perfect to be the enemy of good. What I mean by this is that if you need a circle that doesn't fit inside of the range that we created, just use it. Once I was happy with the outline, I just used the shape builder tool to piece it all together, and now the only step was to just tidy it up by removing these anchor points. So I was going to go away and just choose the fonts, but I thought I may as well show you exactly where I find them from and what websites I like to use, because I know some people will be watching this with absolutely no experience at all. So let's jump right into it. I'm going to start off with Adobe Fonts. Adobe Fonts is absolutely great, and I like to choose my fonts from here because, especially when working with clients that don't have a lot of budget, I'll push the client to use Adobe Express, which is fairly new, to create social media posts, because a lot of people use Canva, which I'm not saying don't use Canva, but Adobe Express, there's some great options. I just like Adobe products, so that's why I advise towards Adobe Express. Anyway, let's try and find a font on Adobe Fonts. We want to go for a luxury font here, so I'm going to start with Browsing All, change the tags to luxury, and I want a nice serif font for this. I'm going to type in EPILAZE just so we can see a little preview of what the fonts look like. Any that I like the look of, I'm going to grab a notepad, write down the names of any that I like. So the first one that's instantly catching my eye is the Latia. I like the look of that font. Let's keep looking. I'm not really liking the look of any of these so far other than the first one. I'm going to complement this with the sans serif font underneath as well. We're going to have a look at Envato Elements now. If you haven't already subscribed to Envato Elements, you can use my referral link in the description. That will help me out as well, so feel free to use that. If not, don't. I don't mind. I do this just to help other people out, because for those of you that don't actually know, I am fully self-taught. The reason that I started my Instagram in the first place was to basically be the account that I was looking for when trying to study brand design and trying to figure out all the things that you don't learn without going to like design school or universities. I'm almost trying to fill that gap. I really like this font. I'm going to save this font for another project because that is really nice. They have got some amazing fonts on here, but I'm after a serif font. Right, there we go. Quite like the look of that glass dome. Usually in my process, I like to just basically get loads of fonts, put them in a big Illustrator file next to each other with the logo above it, and then basically just go for a run or something, come back with some fresh eyes and see which one instantly catches my eyes, and then usually that's usually the best choice, because sometimes when you're looking at fonts for ages, they all just get all mushed up in your head and you just need some fresh eyes. So usually going for a walk, going for a run, or going to the gym, anything like that can really help when selecting fonts or even logo designs as well. For example, this logo that I created last night, I actually just left up on my screen whilst I was asleep, all of these logos. Well, I actually narrowed it down first. I think I narrowed it down to 2 or 3 logos before I went to bed, and then came back in the morning, and whichever one caught my eye instantly, that's the one I go for, because I know that that's probably the best choice. Anyway, we're getting distracted. Let's find some good fonts. That one could work. Luxury one, not a fan of that. Ooh, that's a really nice one. That lavish. Velvetique. Quite like that Carino. That could work well. I don't want it to be too fancy. Ooh, that's a really nice one. Aurum, it's a little bit thin. It might be a bit too thin. That's a really nice one. I'd be interested to see how this one looks. Don't think I'll actually use it. That's really nice, but I don't think it'll suit this brand. Ooh, that could look really nice. Or it might look horrible. Wonder how many pages there are. So let's take a look at what fonts we've got. On this one looks too small. That one again, too tall. Don't like this one. It's too bold. It's just literally a process of elimination. Let's get rid of the ones that we don't like. Don't like that one. Don't like that one. Too bold. The I do like section. So let's put these here. Quite like the look of this one, to be honest. So let's move that one over here. This one can make the cut. This one I don't like. This one I don't like. I do like the look of this one though. At first glance, I think this one's really standing out to me as the winner. I'm not a fan of these, but we can always edit that. If we wanted to manipulate this text, all we need to do is press Command-Shift-O, which will create the outlines. And then if we double click on this section here, we can now completely edit it. So I'm just going to bring that touch in there. That's a bit too much. I don't know. I don't think this is going to be the one anyway. But I really think this might be the one. It's that called Lavish. So it's lowercase. I think that makes a really, really nice logo, especially with some sans serif text underneath. Yeah, that is looking really nice. I think that could be the one. I believe that it has quite a good representation of the direction that we were going for. Cool, so next steps, I'm going to go away, develop this logo even more. I've probably been talking for way too long now, talking about nonsense, but I like to leave it in because I like it to be as raw as possible. Next steps will be, first, develop the logo. Second, pull together a bit of a colour palette. Third, start to create a bit of a brand system and make the brand presentation and pulling pretty much everything together in one place. Anyway, enough talking. After this, I went away and did some final touches to the logo, making sure that it was absolutely perfect. And then it was time to build out the brand presentation. So let's have a look at exactly what I presented to the client and what I talked about. Now, pages 1 and 2 showcase the logo alongside our selected typeface. Now, I like to present this to the client first because I'm about to take them on a journey through the rationale behind the logo, allowing them time to digest it. We really need to win the client here. Next, I showcase the reasoning behind the logo in an aesthetically pleasing manner. I then discuss the logo in more depth, highlighting the key attributes as you can see here. Now, before diving into the colours and typography, I like to show the logo in action. I also showed a preview of what the website could look like with this branding. Now, this was just an added extra that I threw in there because the client mentioned that they wanted to create a website, but they had no design experience. So I thought that this would be a nice addition for the client since that they could get a really good understanding of what the website could look like. So let's take a look at what colours I chose. I chose a natural off-white, obsidian, a gold gradient, and my favourite, a luxurious emerald. I then explained the significance of the colours. I then also showed the logo and the new colour variations. Next, we outlined the selected fonts for this project. Now, for headings, we chose Lavish with a -30 tracking, all in lowercase, just to enhance that readability, but also style. Now, Avenir was selected for body copy, providing quite a clean and modern look. But for micro headings though, we used a 200 tracking, all in capitals, just to convey that luxurious feel. Now, as we approach the end of the document, I showcased the logo in a stacked format and explained the rationale behind the spacing, as you can see here on the left. I also presented several mock-ups. Now, this has incorporated different elements from the entire brand presentation, just for the client to see everything in action. Now, as I hinted earlier in the video, the client actually had 0 revision requests for this project, which is obviously great for us designers because it means no more work. But the thing to grasp from this is you really need a detailed process, really engaging the client on the whole process, just so they can trust you throughout every step of the way. But not only that, they know that each decision has a meaning behind it, rather than just coming back with a logo that they might think you've just made on the spot and at face value might not look like it's taken that long. Now, this meant all we needed to do now was to create the brand guidelines and send the client all of the brand assets. Thank you very much for watching this video. Hopefully you found some value here, and make sure to drop in the comments if you did, as this motivates me to make more videos every time I create a brand identity. See you in the next video. Make sure to check out my website if you need any templates. Peace.